Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the inn. The year of the Raven is upon us, and with it comes a lot of new stuff for Hearthstone.
But we don't care
Which,
about that. We just want to talk about nerfs. Hall of Fame.
yes, Bob has been itching to talk about the Hall of Fame stuff.
To be fair, at this point, since we kind of ditched most of our just discussion videos to just talk about card reviews, that's kind of what we do.
So, if anything, let's cover the simple stuff of Year of the Raven real quick, and then we'll get to the Hall of Fame stuff. So, if anything, first thing comes first, we're getting a new Druid hero in Lunara.
Yay!
She looks great. Can't wait to actively use the skin. You gotta have win 10 wins in Standard to earn her, so be sure to have all that taken care of.
You have a year, people. You're gonna get her.
Yeah. We have in-game tournaments coming. Finally.
I smell some streams, or perhaps some videos.
Streams, videos, you name it, we'll probably be doing it at some point. But, if anything, thank you to the people at Blizzard for finally bringing in-game tournaments to where we're not having to use like third-party sites and things like that. Thank you so much. This is so useful. We're making it to where quests are quicker. So things like Only the Mighty, where you had to play 20 minions that cost 5 or more and you got 40 gold for it. Well, now it's play 12 minions that cost 5 or more and you get 50 gold. So you're getting more gold and a lot easier to be able to get packs because you're getting half of at least one pack each day. So, Bob, I believe you've done the math on this, have you not?
What?
I believe you've done the math on the quests to be able to equate out how many packs you can get by doing your daily quests
Well,
per day.
right now it's still, for the most part, you can probably get, if you're playing regularly, doing at least a quest a day. At this point, you can already get a pack every 2 days. This one just guarantees that you're getting a pack every 2 days, because every once in a while you might be gold shy, where you might have to rely on those 3 wins to get your pack per day. This one guarantees you it just by doing quests, because you're going to get at least 50 gold per quest now. So you're guaranteed a pack every 2 days.
Correct. So now, if anything, we can really get into the meat and the bones of what the Year of the Raven is about. We send off the sets of yesteryear as we keep Journey to Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, Kobolds and Catacombs, Basic Classic, and of course the new set, the Witchwood, which we'll be talking about next week. So definitely come back for that. However, we've also got some cards that have been Hall of Famed. And as a lot of people know, when it comes to the Hall of Famed cards, you will get the full dust refund for them. You do not have to disenchant them. And even if you do disenchant them, you're not going to get extra dust to go along with it. Just to let you know. So, if anything, we'll start with the first card that was announced as going to the Hall of Fame, which was Ice Block. This is no surprise at all. That Ice Block is going to the Hall of Fame. being able to get 2, 3, sometimes even 4 or 5 of those daggone things in standard when you know you have your opponent dead to rights and they somehow find a way to just pull the magical rabbit out of the hat and win because of having like 5 ice blocks. Yeah, that's not fun. So it's been understandable. It's been also good seeing you, Ice Block. We will see you in the wild side of things. Bulb, I turn to you.
Yeah, this was, out of all of them, this was the one we knew was coming. It was no surprise that Blizzard was looking at Ice Block. Everybody expected Ice Block to be moved to Wild, and be going into Hall of Fame. What impact does this mean for Standard? Well, it means that that Mage combo decks, at least Mage combo decks as we've known them so far, are going to be the heaviest hit. They're pretty much a thing of the past. The only way we're going to see them kind of come back would be if Mage comes up with some new ways to kind of sustain itself and stall out the game. It has ways to stall out the game, but it really needs sustainability. And yes, it does have sustainability tools, but it really doesn't have them. It really doesn't have a lot of them. It can't sustain itself in the way that, let's say, Warlock can or Priest can. And this will be harder for Mage and on the control side. Mage has a lot of control tools, but it doesn't have a lot of sustainability tools. And that's something that Mage will really need to see if it wants to continue to kind of have these combo decks or very heavy control decks. So that's something we're going to be looking out for as we break down the Witchwood starting next week or maybe the week after. Overall, I think this is probably a healthy move, and I think that more mid-range decks, more tempo Mage decks, and generally a lot of other control Mage decks will be able to survive without Ice Block. It's really the combo decks that are going to suffer. So, well, we'll see what happens. But I think Mage will continue to be in a safe place, and a strong place nonetheless, and it just will depend on will they get sustainability. Next up is what?
Just real quick,
yeah.
As far as sustainability goes, I do have to say that Arcane Artificer is a really strong sustain card for Mage.
For big Mage, yes, and for some control Mages, yes, but if you're looking for a combo deck, no.
Yeah.
We do not. Arcane Artificer is a start, but we need more. We need reliable sustainability, and Arcane Artificer is not a reliable sustain card. You could also talk about the Jaina Death Knight, but the thing is, if you're trying to combo, trying to turn the Death Knight and then use that to sustain, really is not part of your in-game plan to include and to rely on your water elementals. Both of these are sustainability options, but they're not good for the long term of combo decks. They're not really what combo decks want to do in order to kind of just try to survive. Combo decks have ways to stall the game out, but they don't have ways to kind of just get their life total and just heal themselves a little bit in the long run. And you can say, well, you have Arcane Artificer or you have Frostlich Jaina, but really those aren't the kind of tools that those kind of decks need. They just need reliable, sustainable heal tools, whether it's through armor or just plain healing. Something that Mage really doesn't have. So really that means either combo decks will have to change in a dramatic way, which would I don't know if they can, because combo decks in a way need to stall out and just last and last and last, or they need new ways to just sustain and stall the game out. And while Mage has some of that, I don't think they have enough as of right now.
This is fair. And if anything, like we've got 3 new sets coming out this year that potentially could give that sustain. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll certainly see.
So the next card that is moving to Hall of Fame is Cold Light Oracle. And I'm just going to, before I get into this, I'm going to read why, because this, out of all the cards, out of the 3 cards, this is the one that just, this is the biggest WTF card, and move, and it's the one that nobody saw coming. And this is the reasoning on Cold Light Oracle. Cold Light Oracle is becoming exclusive to WoW for several reasons. It offers unusually strong neutral card draw, which can be determined detrimental to class identity. Its downside can destroy opponents' cards and prevent opponents from playing the deck they built, which in turn limits some designs related to Battlecry and effects that return a minion to the hand. Taken individually, any one of these reasons might have been enough to prompt a promotion to the Hall of Fame, but when viewed as a whole, we felt that it's time for Cold Light Oracle to leave standard play. So, pretty much the reason why is it pretty much it's pretty much a neutral card draw that goes into decks that kind of want to mill you out. They do not like mill. And how we know they don't like mill is because of the sentence, its downside can destroy opponents' cards and prevents opponents from playing the deck they built. Blizzard finds this a bad thing, which is surprising because last year we got Skulking Geist, Nosferatu, and the lovely Rin, which if you play it out all the way, destroys your opponent's deck. So Blizzard somehow hates mill and destroying your opponent's cards because that's not fun, but they created a lot of cards that destroys your opponent's cards. So I have a really hard time with them going, Cold Light Oracle is bad and must be moved to the Hall of Fame because mill is bad, folks, when they created some really problematic mill cards. And, oh, but Bulba, Skulking Geist really is a tech card that really only targets, just a few cards and is not used anyway. Bull crap, I call it problematic in the first place. And Nosferatu and Rin are class cards, so it's not going to be a big problem, but the problem is that Blizzard has already crossed that line that they said way back when, this is a line we will never cross. And I have said multiple times, this is problematic, that Blizzard creating this sort of design space is problematic. And you know what, Blizzard? If you're going to create that design space, then, man up and stop wimping out on us and going, well, this is bad. We don't want players to do this when you've already had the balls to basically create cards that are more problematic than Cold Light Oracle in the first place. This is a load of crap, Blizzard.
I definitely take a look at Cold Light Oracle. I'm saddened to watch it go. Just this past weekend at HCT Toronto, I was able to sit down and watch a lot of games over the course of 3 days. One of the highest win-rated decks and highest win-rated classes, for that matter, was Warrior. Warrior was playing Dead Man's Hand, and one of the key cards to it, of course, is Cold Light Oracle. In a matchup when you get to sit down and watch any of the footage for this matter, I say at this point, go and watch the grand final of Odaman versus Hunter Ace, and basically watch that match. Or watch people like Fibonacci during this tournament run. Because, if anything, the Dead Man's Hand Cold Light Oracle combo countered the Warlock or Control Warlock super incredibly hard because they would play Ren. They would attempt to get out Azari, the Deck Destroyer. And for Warrior, if they had both of their Cold Light Oracles and both Dead Man's Hand in hand, go ahead, play your Azari. I'm going to play Dead Man's Hand, and then just go infinite and keep my deck going. So now, if anything, Rin gets to stay in and be a deck destroyer, and Cold Light Oracle gets the boot. To where now we also get to see Dead Man's Hand Warrior right now die. And that's saddening. Because it's just like, this was a really cool, unique, and interesting meta/tournament deck that is now dead and gone. So it's... I understand the neutral draw aspect. I get that part. But when the downside is it can destroy opponent's card and prevent them from playing the deck they built, and you have things in Warlock that kinda already just basically nuke and cook, as well as you have Skulking Geist that get a neutral and kills all one-cost cards in the deck. Come on, man. Just, come on, man. And if anything, last but certainly not least,
No, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done?
No. Because I want... Because a lot of people are going, well, Ball was completely against the Cold Light Oracle move. No. I like the Cold Light Oracle move. Because I hate mill decks. It's not me saying I hate this move. I think it's a crazy... I think it's a move that came out of left field. But you know what? I can get behind it because I'm not a big fan of mill decks whatsoever. My problem is with the reasoning behind the move, because it shows this blatant hypocrisy from Blizzard, from Team 5. It shows this blatant hypocrisy of, oh, we don't like this type of effect, when that's all they kind of did the past year was create these type of effects. And why I'm so mad about it, and why I have spoken out about it every single time for 2 expansions now, is because way back when they basically had a list of things we will never do in this game, and one of them was basically effects that basically affected your opponent's cards. Your opponent's basically getting rid of targeting and getting rid of cards in your opponent's hand and deck. Not a random effect of this randomly thing happened, but basically doing something that your opponent has no way to counter. That it's not something that your opponent plays into and gets rid of, but basically you play something and your opponent's cards go bye-bye. They said this is blatantly unfun, we will never do this. And then in 2 expansions in a row, they do it. They open up this design space. And yes, it started out small, but I said that this is something that's small, but it's very scary because it's opened up the door, and if they continue, it's very easy for them now to go in and cross this line that they said we will never cross. And they crossed it hard with Rin and Azari. They crossed it very hard. And I called it out for basically what it was. And you know what? Basically, when they come turn around and say, "Well, we want to get rid of Cold Light Oracle and send it to the Hall of Fame because you know what? It destroys your opponent's cards, and that's not fun." When they have created 3 cards, they've crossed a line they said they will never cross. The blatant hypocrisy of it all is why I hate this move. If they said this is a mistake and we're not going to stop doing that, fine. Because you know what? That means that, Rin will be the end of it. But we all know, guys, we all know that Rin is not the end of it. And so this blatant hypocrisy is what I hate out of the Cold Light Oracle move.
Fair enough.
Screw you, Team 5.
If anything, I can now scoot over to Molten Giant, which will be moving to the Hall of Fame. It's going to go back to its original mana cost, which was 20. So, for those of you who liked your big old hand lock, or, enjoy playing Giants, which, honestly, they need to fix the Naga Sea, which, on because it is very, very annoying. But that is an entirely different discussion for an entirely different video.
Ha 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 ha! You made it funny.
I know. But if anything, Bob, thoughts on Molten Giant being moved, as well as thoughts on it being reverted back to its original mana cost?
Well, unlike the previous card where we were talking about bad precedents being set, this is a very good precedent that I think is being set, which is that we can move cards into Wild, and once they're in Wild, we can revert the nerfs. Now, that being said, I don't think every nerf should be reverted. There are some very good nerfs that I used to think that those cards should be nerfed. But I think this sets a very good precedent that if they wanted to, when certain cards move to Wild, either them sending them to Hall of Fame so that they can revert the nerfs, or just cards being moved to Wild in general, that, as long as it's not broken, they can revert the nerfs, and it can be healthy. Because Wild is supposed to be this crazy place. So as long as it's not broken, go ahead, revert the nerf. I think Molten Giant as this testing ground is very nice and very healthy, and I think it spells good things for maybe the future of the Hall of Fame and Wild as far as being able to revert their nerfs. I'd like them maybe do that some more. Maybe move Leper Gnome back and revert that nerf, because you know what? It needs to be. Think of some of the cards that are naturally moving to Wild. You can naturally remove the nerfs, or go back to cards that are in Wild and think about, well, is this broken or not? Maybe I can revert the nerf. I have been a big proponent of reversing the nerf on Tuskar Totemic, mainly from the standpoint of it's a card that is just going to the pool on it is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in Wild, and so it'll become less and less of a must-have in Shaman decks if you revert the nerf. And basically the decks that Blizzard intended it for, such as Totem decks, will want to use it more and more and more because it's going to do the things that you want to do in a Totem deck. I have been very big on wanting. I've been a big proponent of reversing the nerf on Tuskar Totemic, and Molten Giant being moved back and having its nerf reversed means that we might see other cards be moved and have the nerfs reversed. You know what would be really nice, Eddie? Since Yogg is moving into Wild, why not reverse that nerf? The whole reason they nerfed it in the first place was because of the tournament scene. Now that that's no longer an issue, you can reverse the nerf on Yogg and just let it go crazy. Come on, you sigh, but you want it too.
That's why I'm sighing, because I'm just like, I do miss the old shenanigans of the wonky of old Yogg.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like I said, this sets a good precedent, and I think this is mainly a testing ground, that if it goes well, they can go back and they can revisit old nerfs in Wild. And there are going to be some nerfs like Undertaker, and some of the ones where they're going to go and say, no, we're not going to do that. I know Kibler is a big proponent of reversing Force of Nature. I don't think I want Force of Nature reversed, because it was a very problematic interaction.
It was.
So I'm not sure I'm a big fan of having that reverted. Then again, I'm also a fan. On the other hand, I'm a fan of actually having Warsong Commander reverted. Although there are reasons why it was nerfed, I think you can get around it by actually changing some things, just how some of the mechanics in the game work. My example was basically make the mechanic where basically if change the mechanic overall so that it works in a similar way to how Blood Cell is it Blood Cell course? No, it's not Blood Cell. Blood Cell Raider, is it?
Not sure off the top of my head.
The one cost 2/1 with charge if you have a weapon.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Make it similar to how that works, and basically how that works is that it has charge as long as it meets the requirement. However, you can't just put it out while you have a weapon, get rid of the weapon, and have charge. If you do that, it loses charge. Why doesn't Warsong Commander have that ability? It would solve everything in regards to the nerf. basically you would no longer be able to just put down a Frothing Berserker, buff it up, it gets charged, buff it up, and then it attacks face. Basically, if it gets buffed up, it loses charge. Wow! It has the exact... Basically, make the mechanics consistent, reverse the nerf on the card, and you no longer have a problem. Now, you still have a problem in patron decks, but it's wild. It's expected. Kill the patrons. Or there's all sorts of ways you can fix this, but you kind of see where I'm coming from. But even if you don't reverse those nerfs, there's some nerfs, like I said, from the classic set or the basic set that are mainly the classic sets that I think are safe to move into the Hall of Fame and reverse the nerf. The big one is Leper Gnome. I think Leper Gnome would be a fine card to move into Wild, and then reverse the nerf to make it a 2-1 again. I think that would be fine. I'm not so sure I want Innervate moved into the Hall of Fame, just because I think Druid needs to keep basic cards. I think you need to keep the basic cards in Standard, because those are cards that players earn. I think that's fine, just having it be a class-specific coin.
Now, I have to point out one thing to you.
Yes.
Because this is a thing where you just said that Warsong Commander is basic.
I thought it was classic.
Nope, it's basic.
Oh well. But I mean, you know what I'm talking about in general. And
I know what you're talking about in general where that's concerned. Yeah. However, I just had to point out the fact that, what you just said, and then with Warsong Commander.
Yeah, okay, true.
So
I think they need to revisit the entire system in the first place anyway. But in general, them revisiting nerfs, even nerfs of cards that have moved back in, and saying if it doesn't break the game, like you look at Undertaker, yeah, you're not going to mess with that nerf.
Yeah, no.
You're not going to mess with any of the other various nerfs that kind of broke the game. But then there are nerfs that you can, when they move to Wild, you can reverse. Reverse Yogg. Reverse Tuskar Totemic. I'm sure there are other ones that I'm not thinking of right now. That they move in, go ahead and reverse the nerf. There's no harm to it. So I think that Molten Giant sets this nice precedent, and maybe gets Blizzard to actually start thinking about this, and maybe we'll actually see some nerf reversals in the near future. I really hope that's the case. As long as it doesn't break Wild or break the game or anything, I'm all for it.
I was considering Knife Juggler, but then I'm like, no. I need my Knife Juggler.
Knife Juggler is fine the way it is.
Yes, it is. 2-cost 2/2. But we get to move it to Wild Chicken.
Maybe move Iron Beak Allen to Wild. Revert that nerf.
Yeah, and we could also potentially move Big Game Hunter, because Big Game Hunter is not used at all.
I think the Big Game Hunter is good for a tech card, and it might be a thing that you might want to keep in Standard for the future.
For what?
Big things.
It doesn't get used.
It doesn't get used now. It might in the future. If you ever have an issue where you have a commonly used, a common minion that has what? Is it 7 or more or 6 or more?
7.
7 or more attack. And it's pretty much in almost every deck. Big Game Hunter will come into vogue again. It's a tech card, and tech cards come in and out. So I don't think I want it in Wild only. I think you need to have something like that in Standard to take care of the problem. Because God forbid we have another Dr. 7.
We got another one of those. It was Dr. 4.
Yeah, but that 2020 is not peaking out anytime soon.
The 2020 isn't peaking out anytime soon because the 2020's got a little too much restriction on it. So.
Oh, by the way, Blizzard, while you're at that, can you fix that interaction for like Evolved X whatever? Even if you have to take that minion out of the pool, can we just not do that anymore? So it can't randomly just appear and then clog up your board for no apparent reason. Just take it out of the pool. I don't want you to have a 2020 just appear out of nowhere. Just take it out of the pool. Evolve, devolve, Confessor Palatris, can we not have the darkness just appear? Please.
Just poof.
Also,
Nothing.
while you're at it, can you make Scroll of Wonders actually work like Yogg, so that it doesn't affect, finishes the effect, moves on to the next effect, instead of stacking the effects, so that stupid crap that shouldn't happen happens? Fix that!
Alright, if anything, I think we're getting past the point
Have
of...
mini Yogg act like mini Yogg.
Alright, if anything, let's wrap this up, because now we're getting past the whole thing of the year, the discussion for Year of the Raven. So, we'll wrap it up for now. If anything, guys, please come back and join us next week. We're going to be talking about the Witchwood. It's the Hearthstone next
Witchwood?
expansion for the start of 2018. And then starting on Monday, March 26th, is when the live stream will be, revealing more cards. And then following Wednesday after that will be more Witchwood reviews. So, yay, Witchwood!
But which wood would it be?
Witchwood?
Which wood?
Witchwood.
Which wood are you talking about?
I say goodbye for now.